While using the bathhouse, I constantly felt like something was missing. 2 years ago, I got fed up and redid the insulation in the steam room using the most modern insulation material. Back then, many questions arose and I didn't have the answers yet. Hello everyone? Pick good firewood, set up comfortable benches that are wide enough to lie on and easy to clean underneath. Choose a water tank of sufficient volume. Buy or make a stove that can heat both the steam room and the other rooms in the bathhouse. There are many nuances both in building and operating a bathhouse, but today we'll talk about one of the most important ones, insulating the steam room. Our bathhouse was built in the second half of the 2000s. Back then, there wasn't as much information available about all the intricacies and innovations. While using the bathhouse, I constantly felt that something was missing. 2 years ago, I got fed up and redid the insulation of the steam room using the most modern technologies and the most advanced insulation. I already talked about this on the YouTube channel Pesniyashi Koshaka. Back then, there were a lot of questions that I didn't know the answers to yet. What about mice? What about mold? Does it smell when heated or not? Does it release harmful substances or not? Is it a fire hazard or is it safe? Now we'll figure everything out based on 2 years of use. I'll also show how this insulation helps the sauna heat up and retain temperature. For that, I'll conduct hopefully a simple and clear test with measurements. In May 2022, it was cool here in Belarus, and the initial temperature in the steam room was 14 degrees. I'm lighting the firewood and starting the stopwatch. 2 years ago, before adding extra insulation, I did the same test with measurements and recorded the results in detail. So that I wouldn't be tormented by doubts later about whether the effort was worth it or not, I tried to use roughly the same amount of firewood. Back then, it was warmer, and the initial temperature in the steam room was recorded at 24 degrees. While the temperatures in the steam room in the two tests, 2 years apart, are rising, here's a brief note about our bathhouse and its wall construction. The bathhouse is part of a building that also includes a barbecue area and a shed. The walls are made of foam blocks with a thickness of 20 centimeters. 2 of them are clad with log-style siding with a 5-centimeter gap filled with mineral wool insulation. The other 2 are faced with brick, plus a 5-centimeter layer of foam insulation in the gap. I completely dismantled the old insulation, which of course also was a valid option, but perhaps in my case, due to inexperience, it was done incorrectly. And now about the insulation I chose 2 years ago. It's Logic Pure Banya from Techno Nickel, which is considered a modern approach in the field of thermal insulation. It is designed for rooms with high humidity, is safe when heated, and what's very convenient is that it doesn't require additional vapor barrier. The packaging also says that the material is resistant to mold and safe for humans. Pretty cheerful looking packages. I also needed special Logic Pure adhesive foam and aluminum self-adhesive tape, which are also produced by Techno Nickel. Meanwhile, in the test from 2 years ago, 45 minutes have passed, and here's the temperature I got in the steam room, 73 degrees. Not bad. Then I put in the firewood that didn't fit earlier. And now I'll demonstrate the current reading. The first batch is burning out. And in 45 minutes we get it in 45 minutes. 78 degrees. Considering the initial temperature difference of 10 degrees, I think the result is good. I add the rest of the firewood the same way. And another 45 minutes later, before the upgrade, I got 95 degrees in the steam room, and everything seemed fine. And there are still hot coals. The dog is enjoying itself. But here's the problem, only 15 minutes pass and the temperature drops by a whole 10 degrees. There are still plenty of coals. And now comes the real moment of truth. At the same mark, instead of 85, we get, how much do you think we get? We get exactly 100 degrees. The dog is fine, but 40 minutes later, 2 years ago, I got a modest 72 degrees. And as of this video's release, 84 degrees, that's plus 12 degrees. And let me remind you, with an initial temperature 10 degrees lower. While the steam room cools and before the heat retention test, I'll take some time to explain everything in more detail. As stated on the packaging, Logic Pirbanya is an innovative insulation material. It consists of rigid boards with a fairly dense light green core to the touch, laminated on both sides with aluminum foil. The boards are made from highly efficient foamed polyisocyanurate, abbreviated as PIR. The material can be easily cut with a regular utility knife. The PIR adhesive foam is the same light green color. The cans are designed for a professional gun, which these days you can buy for next to nothing. When installing the material on the fairly even walls of the steam room, I have to admit I actually got a certain amount of enjoyment out of it. And I did this job, as they say, in one go, which can be confirmed by the slightly sped up footage. My rather average non-professional skills were enough, which allowed me to save a decent amount without turning to real professionals. I filled joints and connections with foam where needed. The boards of this insulation come in different thicknesses. I used 3cm ones with an L-shaped edge. The foil tape is very sticky. I would peel off the beginning of the protective strip, stick it on, aim it, stretch it, peel off the rest, press it down, and smooth it out. It sticks fast, so you need to line it up carefully the first time. I screwed the PIR boards to my bathhouse's wooden ceiling. And here is the result. I put 2 layers of PIR into this light partition. I even managed to get a straight timber. Since I considered the walls and the base to be flat enough, I fixed the guide battens for the paneling with dowel nails directly on top of the insulation boards. This way is much faster than inserting the boards between the battens, and there shouldn't be any thermal bridges. It would hardly be possible to do this if you were using mineral wool insulation. I also made embedded supports for the new benches out of the batten right away and recorded their positions on video. Taking advantage of the opportunity, I sanded down the dismantled paneling and coated it with a protective compound for sauna steam rooms. I put the paneling back in its original place. Then I upgraded the pipe passage unit through the ceiling, which had been made the old-fashioned way with the code name Sandbox. I covered the walls of the sandbox with heat-resistant minerite board. Let's get back to the test. After 3 hours before the extra insulation, the steam room reached 65 degrees. After 4 hours and 40 minutes, it was 51 degrees. In today's conditions, the coals have almost given off all their heat, and at the 3-hour mark, we record 74 degrees. The cooling continues, and we'll get back to it after a quick flammability test. On the left is the wooden material, which is probably indispensable for finishing any proper bathhouse. On the right is a piece of PIR insulation. To save time, I'm significantly increasing the playback speed of the video. By applying the flame of a household candle, I'm trying to simulate heating, for example, due to a wiring malfunction or a rolling ember. A faint hissing sound starts coming from under the layer of foil due to the flame. After about 1.5 minutes, the wooden sample ignites, but even the foil's integrity in the insulation isn't compromised. That's why I expose it to the powerful flame of a gas burner. The sample of the innovative material catches fire, and in those moments, it starts to seem like all is lost. But as soon as the fire is removed, we notice that it quickly dies down, sizzles, and goes out. So unlike wood, it doesn't support combustion. The top layer becomes charred, and the fire doesn't spread. Amazing. I got carried away admiring the May rainbow and almost forgot to take another measurement. Sorry, I'm on my way. Let's make it the 6-hour mark. "51 degrees. In the previous version, this figure was at 4 hours and 40 minutes, and I don't regret the work I've done, or rather the work I've redone at all. This isn't the first test of the improved bathhouse. I did the first one right after redoing the insulation, even before finishing all the upgrades. And afterwards, with a clear conscience, I assembled completely new frameless benches from the old ones. With a wide, liftable lower bench, now you don't have to bend over awkwardly to clean the floor underneath them. I hope this information will be useful to many people even at the construction stage, and it will help avoid such major bathhouse upgrades later on. Most importantly, the temperature difference isn't critical. You can compensate by adding more firewood, and if you use Russian bathhouse mode instead of sauna mode, those differences don't really matter. The main thing is that now the bathhouse has that authentic bathhouse aroma. I don't yet know how or with what to clearly measure it, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Before, when the bathhouse hadn't been heated for a long time, there was a faint, stale, damp smell. Now it's completely gone. The bathhouse smells only like a real bathhouse, both in winter and in summer. In conclusion, I want to see what the insulation looks like after 2 years of use. I think you're interested in that too. It turned out to be easiest to remove a few panels from the ceiling. The material looks exactly the same as it did 2 years ago, and I don't think there's any point in further comments. I'll leave a link to where I got this Miracle PIR insulation for bathhouses under the video. There will also be links to more detailed videos about re-insulating the bathhouse and a video about making new benches. I tried to explain everything as thoroughly as possible. The steam room ventilation is still organized through the door. After steaming, you leave the door open, that's it. So give a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my Zen and TikTok, the links are also under the video, and don't forget to hit the bell. And then I'll definitely keep you informed. May peace reign all over the world. Thank you.